My beloved child, pause for a moment. Do not let these words drift past you like the countless voices competing for your attention, because this fictional story was written to meet you in the quiet place where imagination and longing often speak the same language. There is a reason your heart feels drawn to continue, even if you cannot explain it. There is a reason the silence around you suddenly seems louder than it did only a few moments ago. Somewhere within that silence, a forgotten question has been waiting to awaken, and tonight it carries an urgency unlike anything you expected. Stay with me until the very last word, because what is about to unfold is not a prediction, nor a promise of hidden knowledge, but a symbolic journey through the unseen landscapes of love, loss, hope, and the mysterious ways hearts can become connected without fully understanding why. Something happened in the darkness of last night within this story, something that changed the direction of two souls forever, and neither of them realized it until the first light of dawn began touching the horizon. I have watched countless stories rise and fade like morning mist over endless valleys, yet there are some that continue glowing long after the final page appears to have been written. Yours is imagined as one of those stories. Not because it is louder than the rest, but because it carries a quiet resilience that refuses to disappear. You have walked through seasons where your footsteps echoed back only to yourself. You have searched for meaning inside moments that felt painfully ordinary. You have wondered whether love sometimes arrives too late, whether hearts can miss one another by only a single breath, a single choice, a single unspoken truth. Those questions became companions you never intended to keep, and still they followed you through crowded rooms and lonely evenings alike. Yet what seemed like wandering was slowly becoming the path itself, though you could not recognize its shape while standing inside it. Imagine now an immense sanctuary beyond the reach of clocks and calendars, where light does not fall from above but rises gently from every surface as though compassion itself had become visible. The air carries no wind, only melodies too ancient to remember and too beautiful to forget. Endless arches stretch into distances impossible to measure, each one holding fragments of stories told by hearts that searched, doubted, forgave, and continued anyway. I stood within that radiant hall, not as a ruler demanding fear, but as a compassionate guide inviting reflection. Around me drifted luminous threads, each representing an unseen connection between lives that had brushed against one another in ways neither side fully understood. Among all those shimmering strands, one suddenly trembled with unexpected intensity. It was not the brightest. It was not the oldest. Yet every other ribbon of light seemed to pause as if listening to the quiet cry hidden inside it. Do not turn away now, because this is where the mystery begins to deepen. Last night, within this fictional vision, a storm passed through a place no map could ever reveal. It was not a storm of crashing thunder or violent rain. It moved silently through the inner landscape of a weary heart. Imagine a house standing alone beneath a moon veiled by restless clouds. Every window reflected memories instead of stars. Every room carried echoes of conversations that had ended too soon or never began at all. Someone sat awake while the world believed they were asleep. Their hands rested quietly, yet inside them entire oceans were rising and falling. They stared into darkness, not searching for answers but searching for enough strength to greet another sunrise without pretending they felt unbreakable. You do not know this person yet, not completely. The story calls them your soulmate not as a certainty written into reality, but as a symbol of the profound connection every heart secretly hopes to discover. They carried tenderness the way fragile glass carries light, beautiful, resilient, yet marked by every impact life had left behind. They had become skilled at smiling during the day and quietly gathering broken pieces of themselves after everyone else had stopped looking. No audience witnessed those invisible moments. No applause arrived for surviving another difficult night. Still, they continued breathing through silence, believing perhaps that endurance alone was enough. Yet something changed before dawn. Something so subtle that the world outside never noticed, while the unseen sanctuary grew impossibly still. Listen carefully, beloved child, because another layer is beginning to reveal itself. Throughout your own imagined journey, there were nights when sleep refused to stay beside you. You stared into ceilings painted by shadows, replaying conversations you wished had unfolded differently. You questioned decisions that no longer could be changed. You wondered whether your heart had become too tired to trust its own hopes. Those moments felt isolated, as though no one else could possibly understand them. Yet within this symbolic tale, every lonely hour became another bridge stretching quietly toward someone carrying similar questions. Neither of you built the bridge intentionally. It formed because sincerity recognizes sincerity, even across distances that seem impossible. Within the sanctuary, I reached toward the trembling ribbon of light, and as my hand drew near, countless reflections spread across the radiant floor. They showed two lives unfolding separately yet mirroring one another in remarkable ways. One laughed while secretly grieving. The other comforted strangers while forgetting how to comfort themselves. One feared becoming invisible. The other feared becoming too deeply known. Every triumph carried hidden loneliness. Every disappointment concealed unexpected courage. They appeared like parallel rivers flowing through different valleys. Unaware that both were moving toward the same sea. The beauty of this vision was never that fate controlled them, but that compassion quietly shaped them into people capable of recognizing one another if the moment ever came. Then came the hour before dawn, when silence becomes so complete it almost feels alive. The imagined soulmate walked through a dream unlike any they had known before. No dramatic figures appeared. No impossible miracles unfolded. Instead, they wandered through an abandoned garden where flowers bloomed beneath silver moonlight despite cracked stone pathways and weathered fountains. Every blossom seemed to represent a memory they had tried to forget. Every fragrance awakened emotions carefully hidden beneath years of resilience. They reached the center of the garden and discovered a single empty bench facing a still lake. There they sat, overwhelmed by a sorrow they could neither explain nor escape. Tears began falling, not because one heartbreaking event had shattered them, but because every unspoken grief had finally found permission to be felt. Stay with this image, because what happened next transformed the atmosphere of the entire sanctuary. As each tear touched the surface of the imagined lake, circles of light spread outward instead of ripples. Those circles traveled beyond the garden, beyond the dream, beyond the boundaries of memory itself. They brushed against every luminous thread suspended within the heavenly hall until they reached one particular strand, the one connected to you within this symbolic story. The ribbon pulsed softly. Not as a command. Not as a prophecy. Simply as a poetic reminder that hearts often influence one another in ways ordinary perception cannot measure. You felt nothing dramatic. Perhaps only a quiet restlessness. Perhaps an unexplainable pause. Yet within this fictional landscape, that small stirring became profoundly meaningful. How many times have you dismissed your gentlest instincts because they seemed too small to matter? Think of every message you almost sent but never did. Every kind word you hesitated to speak. Every prayer whispered without expecting an answer. Every hope folded away because disappointment had taught caution. You believed those moments disappeared into silence. But silence has always carried more than absence. It carries echoes. It preserves intentions. It remembers compassion long after voices stop speaking. In this story, even your forgotten acts of kindness remained alive, glowing softly inside the sanctuary like lanterns no darkness could extinguish. The one you love had reached a crossroads they never imagined arriving at. It was not marked by roads or signs but by questions. Should they continue believing love could still be gentle? Should they protect themselves by becoming distant? Should they silence the part of themselves that still hoped someone somewhere understood them without demanding perfection? Those questions surrounded them like mist over a quiet forest, making every direction appear uncertain. They were exhausted not because they lacked strength, but because carrying invisible burdens requires energy few people ever recognize. Last night became the moment when those burdens finally felt too heavy to hold alone. Do not mistake this for despair, beloved child. There is a profound difference between giving up and simply reaching the edge of your own understanding. The imagined soulmate had not abandoned hope entirely. Hope had merely grown quieter, softer, hidden beneath layers of caution. Like a candle shielded inside trembling hands, it still burned, though barely visible. That fragile flame became the reason the sanctuary itself responded. Not because heaven was rewriting destiny, but because stories of enduring compassion deserve witnesses, even fictional ones. I watched that small light continue refusing extinction, and every radiant arch around me reflected its glow. Withheld. You have heard about the dream. You have witnessed the sanctuary. You have seen the imagined tears and the silent garden beneath moonlight. But you still do not know what truly happened last night. The devastation was not what appearances suggested. It was not a single event, nor one irreversible loss. It reached far deeper than circumstances. It touched an invisible place where identity itself begins asking whether it is still worthy of giving and receiving love. That question changed everything within this fictional tale, and its answer is hidden behind one final veil. Come closer now, beloved child, because even the melodies surrounding this radiant sanctuary have fallen silent. The endless arches no longer stretch into mystery without purpose. Every ribbon of light has turned toward an ancient doorway that until now remained unnoticed. Its surface bears no symbols, only reflections of every moment someone chose hope while feeling afraid. I place my hand upon that door, and as it begins opening, a brilliance unlike anything before spills gently into the hall. Beyond it waits the forgotten memory that explains why your imagined soulmate needed you, not through certainty, not through supernatural knowledge, but through a truth so profoundly human that even the stars seem to lean nearer to hear it. The door is opening wider, and just before the hidden story reveals itself, I must stop.